So, just like yesterday, this one gets folded in half. Factoring Quadratics should be on the front page. Everybody got their page for their notebook today?
Yeah, man.
So I should have one over here for CJ. Moses.
That did not hurt.
Angela, who's never shown up.
She here, bro. She here, bro.
Yeah, she here. She in my first book.
She here today?
Yeah, she said she can't. She said she got back from California.
What?
Who?
Somebody here.
Who just got back?
What? Girl, that what?
Okay.
What you talking about? Yeah,
I just get she back. She got one. No, she died again.
Is it black?
Yeah, it's black.
You thought I was playing?
I don't, bro.
Okay. So,
So,
why we have covered GCF yesterday is that's always the first thing you want to look for when we factor. So, take a look at this polynomial that's up there right now. 14x squared minus 12x minus 2. Take a look at your numbers. Is there a number that divides evenly into 14, 12, and 2? 2. Okay? We can pull out a 2. Okay, so when I pull out a 2, what's 14 divided by 2? 7. X squared. What's 12 divided by 2?
6.
So minus 6x minus 2 divided by 2, which is? 1. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, yesterday we talked about multiplying polynomials to get the standard form. Now we're going to work backwards. Okay, so the way we do that, this first term goes in your first box. So 7x squared. Your last term goes in your bottom corner. So negative 1. Okay, so now to get these two squares, the way we do this is we multiply. So we multiply these two numbers. What's 7x squared times negative 1? Okay, so 7x squared times negative 1 gives me negative 7x squared. Okay. Has anybody shown you the calculator trick on how to get your numbers?
You did. You is. You going to?
Oh, I'm going to.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
No, English is hard.
all right, so what you want to do, exit. Okay, I want y'all to get out your calculator. Clear it out. 2 plus 7, 1, 2.
2 plus 7 plus 2.
I got it.
Okay, can we please stop having conversations that don't have to do with what I'm doing right now? Okay, you're going to go to y equals. Okay, when you multiplied, we got negative 7x squared. Okay, we want to find the factors of 7. So basically, we want to come up with the numbers that you can multiply together to give you negative 7. So what you're going to do is you're going to type in negative 7. That's the number we're looking for, divided by x. Okay, that divided by x tells you it's going to split it. Okay, you're now going to hit second graph and go to your table. All of your whole numbers are your choices. So to get negative 7, I can multiply 1 times negative 7.
Do it.
Okay? Or I can take negative 1 times 7. Those are all of your factors of 7. Okay, so that's how you get your factors every time if you cannot figure out what multiplies together. Okay, so if we switch back here, my factors of this are 1 times -7 or -7 times 1. Okay. Remember, it's a negative number, so one of your factors has to be a negative. Which ones can I put together that gives me this middle term of -6? Is it 1 minus 7 or 7 minus 1?
7 minus 1.
7 minus 1.
-7 minus, oh, sorry, I wrote the same thing twice. This should have been a negative over here. Okay, so 1 minus 7 gives me -6. So that tells me my factors are 1x and -7x. You need to figure out your factors, and then they replace your last two squares. To finish this out then, our last thing is to factor out what we can. So if I go this way, I've got 7x squared and -7x. What do these two share in common? Just these two. They share an x in common. What else can I pull out? A 7. Okay. They both share a 7 in common. I can divide out a 7 and I can divide out an x. Okay. We're going to jump over here. Okay. What do these two share in common? Just a 1. So we're going to pull out a 1. Okay. You're going to do the same thing left to right. What do these two share in common? 7x squared and 1x.
Yes.
They share an x in common. What do my bottom two share in common? A negative. And you can't just have nothing there, so it's -1. 1. They don't share a common. They don't share an x in common, but they share a negative in common. And if they don't share any numbers in common, it is a 1. So your final answer then is 7x plus 1 and x minus 1. You got that from here and here. And then don't forget to put your 2 that you already pulled out front. And you just factored your first quadratic. We're going to practice.
Right, in the inside.
Okay. Yes. It's a puzzle. So you'll have a puzzle piece that has the standard form, and then you have puzzle pieces that have like x plus 2, x plus 3, and you've got to pair them together. If you ever forget the steps that we do, they are at the bottom of this front page. Okay. What are you looking for?
Don't like JD.
Right.
Okay, so open this up. We're going to start top left.
Oh yeah, I seen you this weekend. Over there by homework. On that stuff by homework.
No, I saw you.
Right, he was clean. He had the hat slipped back in.
Okay. Take a look at these three. We've got 9, 6, and 15. Is there a number that divides evenly into 9, 6, and 15? 3. So I can pull out a 3. When I divide 9 by 3, I'm left with 3 x squared minus 6 divided by 3. Yes, sir.
Can you just do the x of when you doing that part?
They don't all share an x in common.
I know.
No, but yes, you could.
Okay, I'll be doing that.
That's fine. Some people just need to do numbers and then the variables, but if you're good doing them both at the same time, rock it out.
All right.
Okay. Stefan, this is the last time I'm going to tell you to put your shirt on.
Bro, so muscular.
Okay. What's 6 divided by 3?
2.
2. Minus, what's 15 divided by 3?
5.
5. Okay. So again, first term goes in the first box. So 3x squared. Last term goes in the last box. So -5. Okay, so now I need to multiply these two together. 3x squared times -5 gives me what? -15x squared. Okay, I need numbers that multiply together to give me 15.
3 and 5.
3 and 5.
That's it.
You're missing 1.
1.
1.
1.
1 and 15. Okay, so this is negative, which means I can either have -3 +5, -1 +15, or I can reverse it. I can have +3 -5, or +1 -15. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. So because my 15 is negative, that means one of my factors has to be negative. So it can either be my 3 or my 5. That's why I wrote it both ways. Or it could be my 1 and my 15. That's why I wrote it both ways. Which one of these is going to go together to give me -2? Think about it. What's -3 + 5? -3 + 5 gives me a +2. I want a -2. So it'll be 3 and -5. Okay. If -3 and +5 give me a +2, just switch your signs. So I want to use this one. So I've got a +3x and a -5x. Okay. And then we just factor out again. So let's do the lefts first. We've got 3x squared and 3x. What do they share in common? The x and the 3. So I can pull out a 3 and an x. I've got -5x and -5. What did they share in common? -5. Okay. I've got a 3x squared and a -5x. Just the x. So it comes out. And 3x and -5, if they share nothing in common, you can always pull out a 1. Okay. If they don't ever share anything in common, you can always put out a 1. So your final answer then is your greatest common factor that we pulled out. So your 3 comes over here in front.
So it's 3.
3x minus 5 from the left. And x plus 1 from the top.
That is cold-hearted.
Cold-hearted.
Yeah. I was saying something.
Stone cold.
Steve Austin.
That's the goat. That's the goat.
Can't even fight him.
So he's still pretty legend.
He's still like
Not in the middle of my lesson, no.
being heavy.
No, it
Right,
was
but he's the strongest
He's
wrestler.
gold, man. He picked up great college.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Take a look at this one.
I see him like
Is there a greatest common factor? No, there's nothing that goes into 2, 3, and 9 evenly. So we just start putting stuff in. Your 2x squared goes here. Your -9 goes here. We multiply them together before we get our factors. So what's 2x squared times -9?
Wait, what? 18.
What's 2x squared times -9? -18 x squared. Okay, give me factors of 18. 1 and 18. I'll start you off.
3 and 6.
3 and 6. There's one more. 2 and 9.
That's it.
Okay, one of them has to be negative. Okay, one of them has to be negative. I'm not going to rewrite the other 3. Just know that if you put one as negative and it comes out to be the wrong, just switch your signs. Okay, so out of these groupings, which one go together to give me a +3? What was it, TJ? Negative 3 plus 6 gives me positive 3. So we're using these. So I need a negative 3x and a positive 6x. Yes.
Does it matter which ones you put them in like which squares? Like could a 3x be with 6x?
Yes, it does not matter.
Okay.
That was a good question. Grace said, did it matter that I put the negative 3x here and the 6x here? Absolutely not. We could have switched them and did it the other way. It does not matter. Your key is to keep your x squared term here and your last term here. These two terms, it does not matter. Okay, so let's start. What does 2x squared and negative 3x share in common?
X.
X. What does 6x and negative 9 share in common?
1.
What goes into 6 and 9?
Oh, 1.
3. I can pull out a 3.
6 and 9, and you know.
3 goes into 6 and 9. Okay, here's this side. 2x squared and 6x.
2
I can pull out a 2
and a negative.
and an,
Oh, no.
not a negative, a 2 and an x. Okay, and then the last ones,
Negative 3.
I can pull out a negative, a 3, and that's it.
Yeah.
So your final answer then, this side is x plus 3. This side is 2x minus 3.
Well, something, yeah.
So how bad is factoring right now?
I mean, it look kind of lit. I can lie.
Now
Kinda
try
lit.
the other
Kind of
3.
Wait, so since we didn't do anything, nothing goes out.
There's no GCF because you didn't pull anything out to begin with.
Hey, bro. I lied.
Hold on.
I had lots of rappers. I mean, rappers.
No, just leave it there. Just leave it
Mom.
there. Okay, last one on this side. Do I have a greatest common factor? No, there is nothing that divides evenly into all three terms. So we've got 3x squared here and positive 4 here. When I multiply those two, I get what? 12. X squared. Give me factors of 12. I'll start you. 1 and 12.
2 and 6.
2 and 6.
3, 4.
3 and 4. Okay.
12.
Because this is positive, both of my signs are either going to be positive or negative. Okay. Which ones go together to give me 8?
2 and 6.
6 and 2. Okay. Because this is a negative 8, this is going to be a negative 6 and a negative 2x. Okay. This has to equal negative 8. So we have to make this a negative 2 and a negative 6.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's hot.
Okay.
Close your mouth.
3x squared and negative 6x. What do they share in common?
X.
An x
3.
and a 3. Fantastic. Okay. Other side. Negative 2x and 4. They pull a 2.
Hold up. Oh, I'm about to say.
This way. 3x squared and negative 2x. They sharing x. And negative 6x and 4.
2.
2. So your final answer then is x plus 2, 3x plus 2. You can always double check yourself and multiply these together. And if it comes out to give you this original answer, you know you're correct. Okay.
My girl said 4 need a V.
3 times 2
I don't need it.
Well, your girl here, you get a fever.
Oh.
She's sick as she don't need it.
Oh, you did. Yeah, you did mess up. Ooh.
Miss Milf.
I see. Yeah, he sniped down.
3x squared.
Who's like
These should both be negatives instead of positives.
Oh,
What should be negative?
Okay. Good catch.
Christian, what's that?
Caleb went back and looked at this. Look what happens. Okay. The way,
Don't touch.
if you FOIL these, okay, which means takes your first terms and multiply together. So x times 3x, that gives me 3x squared. But look what happens when I multiply the outer. X times what we had was positive 2. Does that give me a negative 2? No. So we need to make this a negative. Same thing that happened here. We had positive 2 times positive 3, which would give me a positive 6. So we had to make that negative. Okay. So that was a good call. That was a good call. Okay. Because when you multiply these back through, they should give you the numbers that are inside of your box. And they didn't, because they gave you positives instead of negatives. So all you had to do was change your signs. Take a look at this one. Do I have a greatest common factor? No. So we've got 2x squared and a 5 down here. When I multiply to give them together, we get a what? 10. X squared. Okay, because my middle term is a positive, that means both of my numbers are going to be positive. What are factors of 10? 2 and 5. 1 and 10. Which ones go together to give me 11? 1 and 10. So we've got a 1x and a 10x.
Wait, quick question.
Yes.
It wouldn't matter what place you got put them.
Like if I could put my 10x here and my 1x here, it does not matter.
Okay.
Does not matter. Okay. So 2x squared and 1x, what do they share in common?
Yes.
X. 10x and 5. We can pull out a 5. 2x squared and 10x. 2 and an x. Fantastic. And 1x and 5. 5 doesn't have an x with it. Just a 1. If there's nothing we can pull out, there's a 1. So we've got 2x plus 1 and x plus 5.
I have another question.
Yes.
Does it matter if these are switched?
No. Okay. Take a look at this one. Those are big numbers. It's okay. Because Grace just said I can pull out a 10. I can pull out a greatest common factor first. That gives me a 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1, which I can just write as x squared. 80 divided by 10 is
8.
and 70 divided by 10 is 7. So I've got a greatest common factor of 10. I'm going to write it out front first because I'm always the one that forgets to write it. Okay, so when you get a GCF, you can automatically throw it out front. Okay, so now I've got x squared and 7. When I multiply that together, I get 7x squared. What's my factors of 7?
1 and 7.
1 and 7, that's it. Do they go together to give me 8? Yes. So, because these are positives, your goal is to find factors of this that go together to give me my middle term.
Okay.
Okay. So over here, when we had negatives, they still had to go together to give me this middle term. You just had to figure out which one of them were negative. But because we're now dealing with a positive 10, they're just added together. Okay. So we've got 1x and 7x. What do x squared and 1x share in common? X. 7x and 7. X squared and 7x. And x and 7. 1. So we get x plus 1, x plus 7. Okay, here's my last one. We got one more. And what I think I'm going to do today is I'm just going to give you your homework to get.
Miss Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
can you send CJ Burns to the office signing out?
Sure.
I know
Thank
can.
you.
Homework. Leave.
Right. I know he had.
Sitting here like, bro, I don't even want to get out. Run out that door. I be
What you're gonna do? Run all these calculations to find the factors to go with them.
Very lot. I can't lie. I used to like lots of rappers. I keep saying rappers.
All right.
Rappers.
Last one. Do I have a greatest common factor? No. Okay. So look at what happens. X squared goes here and negative 16 goes here. Do I have a middle term with an X?
Oh,
No. So I'm trying to find factors that are going to go together to give me 0. So when I multiply these together, I get negative 16x, which means one number needs to be positive, one needs to be negative. So I've got 1 and 16. What else do I have for 16? 4 and 4. Or
2 and 8.
2 and negative 4 and positive 4. Again, because this is negative, we have to have one of each. So I've got negative 4x and positive 4x. Okay, so just because you don't have a middle term doesn't mean you cannot do this. You can. Your middle term is just a 0 if it's non-existent. So same process. What can I pull out of here? X. What can I pull out of the bottom? 4x and negative 16. 4. Negative 4x and negative 16. Negative 4. Remember, they're both divisible by 4. So my final answer is x plus 4 and x minus 4. And no, it does not matter. You can write x minus 4 and then x plus 4, and it's still the same answer. Okay. Questions? Factoring does not get any harder than this. You need this skill for Math 3. Okay, so please do not forget what we're working on. Okay.